Hello everyone. Today, we're talking about gear. There's a lot of gear discussion out there as to which camera you should use. To that I say, which camera do you have? I use the Nikon Z6 and I've used the Nikon D500 in a lot of my projects. Sometimes I get some weird looks because I film on Nikon, but there's a lot of options out there. I mean, from your cell phone to a Panavision camera and everything in between. But the thing that I've noticed is that a camera is only as good as the person that is using it. So why do I film with Nikon? That's easy. I like Nikon. I am not affiliated with Nikon nor any other company that I may mention, but that is the simple truth. I just like Nikon. I like the colors they produce, I like the lenses they make, I like the menu systems they have, and I like the way it feels in my hand. And really, that's all that matters. They would never really say this, but the Nikon Z6 is kind of Nikon's unofficial cinema camera. It's made for video creators and filmmakers. They even have a filmmaking kit that you can buy. So the thing Nikon did wrong with the Z6 is that they marketed it to photographers. That's understandable though, because Nikon's fan base is largely photographers, and the Z6 is a very capable photography camera. But this camera has all the features you would want in a lightweight camera for filmmaking. And an interesting note is that the first DSLR that could shoot HD video that wasn't in some kind of weird format was the Nikon D90. So they've been trying to push video on their cameras for quite some time. Before that, other DSLRs had video capability, but the aspect ratio wasn't anything that was standard. That doesn't make my camera any better or worse than the one that you may be using, but the features in it are astonishing and I'm very happy with my purchase. There are so many channels out there about gear, and while gear is important, it's not more important than your ability to tell a good story or your ability to light a scene well. And lately it seems like I've run into a lot of pixel peepers. I recently had a conversation with someone about 4K versus 1080. This particular person thought that 1080 was dead, but in my time of freelancing, I've never had one client request 4K footage from me. I mean, of course, if you film in 4K and then you squeeze it down to 1080, it's gonna look better. 4K footage by itself is sharper, but when it comes to the clients that I've had, which are mostly smaller clients, they didn't really care about the extra sharpness. And the bigger clients, where I was doing mostly just gathering footage for them rather than making a final product, they didn't have the server space to store a ton of 4K footage. And that might not be the case moving into the future. But in 2016, I bought a 4K capable camera and never used the 4K option. The last music video I filmed was on my Z6, and I filmed it in 4K because I kinda pushed that. In essence, what I'm trying to say is that the abilities on your camera do give you more access to your capabilities, but you have to be capable of creating those great images. And that's what practice and learning is for, and I'm learning as a filmmaker. Now that we've gone over all the philosophical implications of gear, let's go over the gear that I'll be using for this short film. The gear I'll be using is the Nikon Z6 to film everything. Then, to capture myself filming, I'll be using the D500. This seems like a lot of work. I'll be using the kit lens for the Z6, the 50mm 1.8, and the 85mm 1.8. The 1.8 here is the number that they use to measure how wide the aperture has gone, that little closey thingy in the middle of the lens. And the smaller the number, the bigger it gets. And the bigger that is, the more of a shallow depth of field you can have, like the blurriness in the background. That's an aesthetic that a lot of filmmakers like to use. I like to use it, but when you look at old films, it wasn't as important as lighting and composition. A tripod is essential on a film set, especially when you're filming yourself. And the one I have is just a no-name one that I bought off of Amazon. So the lights that I use are LED lights, and I will probably only use them for the night scene. During the day, I'll use a lot of natural light, and if you can use natural light in your scenes, do it. It's free. But these ones are really good. They're Yongnuo. I can't really pronounce the name very well, but it's Yongnuo. This particular mic is the Tascam DR10L. Now this mic is phenomenal. I've used it quite a bit and it gets great sound, and it has a great auto leveling system in it. I was doing a wedding and someone had tripped the little button here, which is actually almost impossible to do, but they tripped the little pull down thing for a few seconds and turned it off. So the bride had no audio during the ring ceremony. When I got back and went through my audio, I about had a heart attack. But when I listened to the audio from the groom, it picked up everything from him and the bride. I cannot say enough about the DR10L. And I'll also use some black cloth to help manipulate the light in the natural light situations. And light stands. You need stands to put your lights on. That's the gear I'm using for the 1-minute short film. Thanks again for watching my video. Please subscribe, share, comment, and if you missed one, there should be some things popping up here soon. With that being said, we're on to the next one.